Coming up on this edition of Quincy in Focus.
On Veterans Day, we as a community celebrate all of the men and women of our military and thank them for their service and sacrifice.
The city remembers those who served during the annual Veterans Day ceremony.
And I think it's fantastic that Dick is going to be remembered this way.
A dedication was held in memory of a friend of Wollaston Beach.
Down in Wampatuck State Park, guests of Rockland Trust, who's putting on a fundraiser for Massachusetts Vesta Dog.
And runners took to the trail to support the Quincy Police K-9 unit. These stories and more coming up on Quincy in Focus.
Hello, and welcome to Quincy in Focus, Quincy Access TV's news magazine show. My name is Nick Burrow.
And I'm Dan Mayer.
And we are television production students at Quincy High School interning at QATV.
Leading off this edition, a community meeting was held at Quincy High School to discuss the health impact assessment of the proposed Fore River compressor station. The meeting was organized by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, and the Metropolitan Area Planning Council.
The proposed compressor station is a combustion turbine, and they get emissions data from the turbine manufacturer. And in terms of the some of the blowdown and maintenance, they also have data from other sites that they operate and that they've monitored and measured, so they get that as well.
Some of the work that we're doing is to look at the literature that exists on property values in the vicinity of compressor stations. And then the next step after that review is to come up with recommendations to say, should this happen, what would the impacts be and how would those be mitigated for people who might be affected?
What they're proposing, silencers and all these mitigation efforts to reduce the noise, that's part of what they're building into their modeling. So they would have to include that in the construction, and that would be a condition of the permit. And in terms of enforcement, there is a provision, or will be, I think even in the draft permit that was issued before, there's a condition that if this were built, they would have to go out and do sound monitoring to verify that what they are modeling is actually what's happening. And so that's the way there would be enforcement.
Toxins and chemicals in the ground. And those two pieces, in addition to the water quality question before, are addressed in the erosion and sediment control plan, which can be found online. And that takes into account the management of the site, given the fact that there has been environmental contamination on the site and the fact that the construction will generate dust and will result in digging.
The air quality modeling, just the output is concentrations of the various pollutants. And then what DEP does in their permitting process is that they compare them to standards that take into account the potential health effects from various pollutants at various concentrations.
At its very basis, a health impact assessment is asking the question of, were this thing to happen? For example, were a school to be reconstructed a particular way? Was a park or an urban agriculture piece to be created? Was a compressor station? We're asking that question of, were this thing to be, and then saying, were this thing to be, what's really bad about it, and we want to make sure we're mitigating, and what potentially is positive about it that we're promoting. We are not making a judgment of whether something should or shouldn't happen, but if it was to happen, what are the things we either got to make sure doesn't happen along with it, gets mitigated, or gets promoted. The available information to us represents the conservation restriction on Kings Cove and Kings Cove and Levels Grove will remain as is. The planning plan that we have, someone asked about the latest site plan, maybe being an oldest site plan. All the information that the proponent has created regarding site plans is all with the Conservation Commission, so we're relying upon those site plans. And that shows a variety of planning along the Kings Cove corridor and the protection of that particular area too. Our advisory committee asked us to look at, can we identify other compressor stations, what it looks like? And so we did take a look at that too. Based on my own perspective, many of them sit in very different settings than this one would. Your second question about concentration for something like a concentrated or emergency blowdown, that is something that, again, we're going to make sure gets noted in there, but we're looking for what available information exists to speak to that, either for the site itself or generally around that, because you're right in terms of what the concentration could be for that versus something that's scheduled could be very, very different in terms of quantity, in terms of time, in terms of content. What I heard was that essentially no one necessarily thinks this is a good idea in this place, so why are we even going ahead with it? No one locally seems to benefit from this, given what's going to happen. Potentially might even be benefits everywhere, and we should be thinking about people, not the public health piece of it. What I would just say, hopefully you'll bear with me that too. You have public health staff here, you have environmental health protection staff here too, who are looking at all this information with a civic mind, with essentially incredibly strong backgrounds. But as a populace, as a society, we have set up regulations for ourselves, right? We set up things that we think that are predictable. And those regulations that we have set up, we need to think about those, right? Because in these particular instances, it plays out in a particular way. There's a number of different factors in there: asthma, COPD, I know you said heart attack, cardiovascular issues essentially that might make people more sensitive if air quality was to get worse. When are we going to have a discussion about that, and how can we look at that data? I would give credit to DEP, received funding to do that from the state level, so taxpayer dollars, thank you for that. To do that, to then be able to say, go out and monitor that differently, because otherwise we would be relying upon other numbers, but we can actually rely upon, though limited, we can rely upon the data that was collected in that regard too. Similarly, we're looking at the town information in terms of the noise study as well too, so we're looking at that information too. And we're also looking at other things too. So something else that came up during the earlier process was restoring a herring run along the Fore River and what those roles are. So we're looking at things like the Fore River Watershed Association data, the Conservation Commission data for that information. So while we're using that, and again, thank you sir, available data, we're making sure as much as possible to qualify that against studies of that type of work or local information that we can use for that information. Connect with your local officials, connect with your local emergency planning commission, connect with other things there. As Frank offered, there's ongoing lawsuits. Please monitor that information. We want to make the best contribution to this HIA we can, but there's many other ways that you can make contributions, and we just want to make sure you're aware of that. So the report will come out probably as a final draft. It'll come out as that. But there will be opportunity to provide comment on that report itself. We will log those comments and make sure they accompany that report where it goes.
Boston Police Commissioner William Gross was recently honored by Quincy College with the 2018 Quintessential Award. The award, presented at the college's 60th anniversary celebration, is given to someone who embodies the essence of Quincy College.
I know that this school has a great foundation, and I know that it's got even greater heights that we're going to meet. And we're going to make sure that the mission of the school is about helping Quincy, Dorchester, Roxbury, Weymouth, all the way to Plymouth County, those students, those kids who are looking for that first, door to walk through after high school, that we're there for them, and that we give them the greatest opportunity, and we're going to bring it to even greater heights.
I think that everyone here tonight is a significant member of the Quincy College community in one way or another, and that's why I think even being here is a great celebration. It's a mix of people that are here to celebrate. And I just want to say on behalf of myself, and I know the Quincy College Trust, I promise that your investment will be used wisely, and the Quincy College Trust will work collaboratively with administration, faculty, and staff so that we ensure that your gift is used for the most impactful way for the benefit of our students, and to ensure that the college's mission of offering an affordable and accessible education is maintained.
Here I am, all these years on the job, and they're like, hey, go back to school. Want to know why? It's like, hey, you're a bright person, show it. Some people will try to use it against you if you don't have a degree. And that's the truth. So I listened. See, I do listen. And wow, I went back and I loved it. And then, I am a big family guy, literally. I start thinking about my brothers and sisters in law enforcement. I am the big brother, not only to my beautiful law enforcement family here, but to folks in the community as well. So I'm like, wow. If I can go back to school, they can too. It's very important. I couldn't believe how many students graduated. I saw mothers, I saw grandmothers, I saw sons, I saw daughters, but one thing was common. The biggest smiles on their face as they were handed their degrees. And even before, as we were being seated, these weren't phony smiles or phony hugs. These were accomplished dreams, aspirations fulfilled. And you could see it written all over their faces. That, wow, whoever doubted me, look at me now. I graduated from Quincy College. Look at me now. Look at my degree. But we, as in the Boston Police Department, pride ourselves in our community policing model. And we're always telling kids out there, go back to school, go back to school. I have bragging rights now. I'm like, if I can go back to school at my age, so can you. It's not as hard as you think. You have to do the work, but you can do it. That's what we're talking about. Quincy College is an integral part of our community policing. It's an integral part of many communities, not only in Quincy, but in our great Commonwealth. So folks, as I stand here, my thank you is sincere for what you do, the lives you're changing. And 60 years, you're going to keep going and going and going.
This year's Quincy's Veterans Day ceremonies included recognition of the centennial of World War I, the annual parade, and ceremony. We now share some remarks from that day.
You know, today we're real patriots. I know there's a game going on somewhere, but these are the real patriots among us. This city has a tremendous tradition going all the way back. If you go over to the burial ground next to City Hall, you'll see names that served in the Revolutionary War. And ever since that period, generation after generation, men and women have stepped up to serve. And we're so grateful for their service. I know at Memorial Day we really celebrate those who we lost, those who've gone to meet their Maker. Today we celebrate those veterans who have served, but also those who are serving all across the world, keeping the peace. So we thank them for their service, and we ask you to keep them in God's prayer, in your prayers to God Almighty. I want to thank George and Beth and Heather and Marianne, the people that serve in our Veteran Services Office every day, serving the needs of our veterans as they come home and get integrated back into society and at times need some help. And these folks do a tremendous job serving our veterans with dignity and great respect, so we thank them for their service. So with that, enjoy your day. And you gave the veterans the greatest gift you could give, your presence here today. Thank you for that.
We're here to recognize and remember all those who served in the armed forces, who currently serve in the armed forces. And all of us here who are veterans know what that means and how special it is to us. And on the way up, I was just thinking about something that at some point, all of us who've been in the military, we've missed holidays, we've missed family gatherings and special occasions. That's all part of the sacrifice that we make. There's nothing about what our veterans do and those in uniform do that's a Hollywood movie. It is reality. Those who serve and the families who wait for them behind know it's no Hollywood movie. They know it's a reality. And the biggest tribute we can give to those who aren't with us today is the very fact that you are here today. Thank you all.
I am grateful for the opportunity to be here with you. I had the honor of serving in the United States Marine Corps from 2006 to 2012. I had the good fortune of serving with some of the bravest, strongest, smartest, and kindest men and women that I've ever met. It is a privilege to have lived, trained, and fought alongside the men and women of our armed services, and specifically those who embodied the Marine Corps' core values of honor, courage, and commitment. On Veterans Day, we as a community celebrate all of the men and women of our military and thank them for their service and sacrifice. Veterans are not superheroes or machines. They are people that need to laugh, sing, or tell stories to provide happiness in a place and at a time where it does not seem like happiness exists. You don't have to sing a song or adopt cats or tell jokes to help a veteran or a veteran's loved one in distress. You only need to let them know that you are there to help. You are there to provide happiness in a place and at a time where it doesn't seem like happiness exists. For being here, I thank you. And I ask that you please continue to support your local veterans. Thank you very much.
Quincy Police Dogs took center stage at the recent Rockland Trust Rock Fit 5K held at Wampatuck State Park. Proceeds from the race were donated to Massachusetts Vest a Dog, where funds will be used to purchase boat-resistant vests and other essential equipment for the Quincy Police K-9 unit.
Morning, folks. I'm Bob Gillen, Lieutenant, Quincy Police Department. I'm the K-9 unit supervisor. We're here with down in Wampatuck State Park, guests of Rockland Trust, who's putting on a fundraiser for Massachusetts Vest a Dog. and the proceeds, some of them will go to the Quincy Police K-9 unit. Quincy Police K-9 unit is presently consists of 12 dogs. All our breed, we run the whole spectrum of breeds. We have Labrador Retrievers, which we use for narcotics works. We have Belgian Malinois, German Shepherds, Dutch Shepherds, and these breeds are used to find lost people, find criminals, and to detect hidden explosives and hidden firearms. So, Officer Doherty has given his commands to the suspect to surrender and not be apprehended by the dog. By law, he's required to shout these warnings a minimum of 3 times. So, Officer Parisi did not comply. So it's a very precise selection process. We do an extensive interview. In the Quincy Police Department, as in most police departments, if you take the dog, you're responsible to take the dog home. The dog lives with the families, bonds with the handler, and at the end of the career, the dog stays with that handler when the dog's retired. So today we're down here to support this event. We're going to be doing some dog demonstrations, and I hope everyone has a good day at it.
Oh, yeah.
And in third place is Stephanie Sloan. I'd like to thank, from all of us and from all of K-9 community, and especially Quincy, thank you for your participation and your interest in everything you do to help us really help you.
The state election saw an encouraging number of Quincy voters go to the polls. QATV's Joe Catalano traveled to the Adams Academy polling location on Election Day and chatted with a few of those voters.
So we're here at the Adams Academy building. It's Ward 5 Precinct 3 with the warden Jim Shields to bring us up to date on how Election Day 2018 here in the city of Quincy is going. And Jim, looks pretty busy. How's it been going so far?
It's been a very busy day. We started off this morning at 7 o'clock with a line probably of 50 people.
With the 3 ballot questions this year, are you finding that folks are understanding those, and is it taking a little more time for them to vote than years past?
The main thing is that it's taken the voter a lot longer to vote because of all the people running for office and the questions. And I have been asked a few times to help the person go over what the question means.
How does the turnout this morning compare to back in the primary in September, would you say?
Oh, it's a lot heavier. Very heavy. It's like a presidential election, in my estimate, and doing the presidential election.
All right, well, I'll let you get back to work. I know it's very busy. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
So, Christine, if you could talk to us a little bit about why you came out to vote today.
Everyone knows it's a very important election.
What are some of the most important issues on your mind as you cast your ballot today?
I don't necessarily go by party, but I go by the person, what their agenda is, and I knew I had to be out today to vote. I knew it.
So you've done voting, so tell me, do you support, like, say, the governor's current governor, or did you support his opponent?
I do.
And why?
I think he's done a great job for Massachusetts. I think he makes a great presence as governor. I think he listens to a lot of people, and that's important.
Ruth, tell us why you came out to vote today.
Oh, it's important. I always come out to vote. I had a brother that would wake me up at 4 in the morning if there was nobody to vote for. Still had to come.
Any particular issue that's pressing on your mind today at the voting booth?
Well, all the issues are important, particularly number 2, which is the transgender rights. It's basically a no vote means you're taking someone's rights away, and that, to me, was particularly important that people come out for that.
How about the ballot question 1 on the nurse-to-patient ratio? That seems to be very controversial.
That was a really tough one for me, and, knowing people in the profession, I did vote yes.
Curious about the race for U.S. Senate, the Elizabeth Warren, Jeff Deal race, and how you feel about that.
I think they're both good candidates, both very different candidates, but Elizabeth Warren has done a lot for us, and I really would like to see her get back in.
QATV member Scott Daniels recently attended the Richard Dick Herbert Memorial Park unveiling. Members of the Quincy delegation and others shared their memories and spoke of the significance of the dedication.
My name is Leo Roy. I'm your DCR commissioner, and I'm delighted to be here. This is a wonderful event to celebrate the work and contributions of a very civic-minded individual. And that's what we need more of in today's society. There aren't enough people that are willing to give back to our society and to our communities. Certainly you have some here today and our elected officials who do work tirelessly on your behalf. But we need more engaged citizens. We need people to vote. We need people to volunteer for nonprofit groups. And that's the legacy that we're celebrating today.
I miss him. I miss him an awful lot. Dick was somebody who just loved people, loved getting involved, loved sharing. And the other thing that I will never forget about Dick is that every time I saw him, he asked about my boys. He always asked about my boys, and not only did he ask about them, but he knew what they were up to. He'd say, oh, how's Tim doing out at Marquette, or how's Chris doing, or how's Kevin doing? Kevin's getting taller, I notice. He knew what was going on in my life with my children. And I think that, more than anything else, is just reflective of how he dealt with people, how he loved people, how he was so engaged. So, Pat, I want to say thank you for all that you've done over your years here in the city of Quincy, shaping young minds and people, and thank you for sharing Dick with us.
He was a special person who wanted to get involved with his community for the betterment of others. He donated something very special, his time. And I can remember many mornings cleaning up the beach. He was just passionate about his city, passionate about helping out his friends.
All these things he did around the city that, frankly, he never said anything about. He did his job, he did it for the community, and took really no credit for it.
I think my first interaction with Dick was at a meeting called by then Councilor Doug Guttrow and the late Councilor Brian McNamee to consider creating a group to advocate for the beach and its users. Thus, the Friends of Wollaston Beach was born. Kristen Awood Lattis became our first president, Dick vice president, Bob Verney secretary, and I treasurer. Our little quartet, supported by a dedicated group of volunteers, hit the ground running. In the first year, we ran a kids' fest, a kite fest, a few cleanups, and generally made it our mission to bring people back to Wollaston Beach. I cannot fittingly express what Dick meant to us. He is sorely missed.
Had the pleasure of meeting Dick through the Friends of Wollaston Beach, probably about 13 years ago, 14 years ago now. And that led to many of the faces in the crowd becoming my friends, which was great. And Dick was a great conduit that way. If you look at this sign behind us here, myself, then Councilor Doug Guttrow, along with former city historian Tom Galvin and Dick Herbert worked to create a walking trail from the Hummock down to Caddy Park that marked the significance of the Native American population here in the city. That was funded through community preservation acts from the mayor's office, with Chris Walker as the point person, along with Mayor Koch, along with DCR matching funds. So when you think of Wollaston Beach, it certainly is a beachfront, but there's more to it than that. And this park certainly represents part of that. And I think it's fantastic that Dick is going to be remembered this way.
And at this point, I'd like to invite you, Pat, the Herbert family, the elected delegation, forward to help do the unveiling. And now ready? 1, 2, 3.
Members of the Red Sox fan and youth engagement team were in the city just after the regular season finished. Fortunately, QATV studio was one of their stops.
Representatives of the Boston Red Sox are here in the city of Presidents today in advance, of course, of the postseason games that are coming up, kind of revving up the crowd, the fan base, if you will. So let's see who's here and what they're doing. So what is your name?
I'm Ariana. I'm here from the Red Sox, and we're super excited to be on TV today.
Thanks, Ariana. And your name is?
And my name is Erin, and we're part of the fan and youth engagement department, and we're just out promoting the 2018 playoffs, and we're very excited to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for coming by. And you are?
I'm Nick, and they took everything I was going to say, so now I have nothing left to say.
All right, let's go back to Ariana then. Tell us what you're doing here in the city, where you're going, and what people are telling you.
Sure. So we started today off at the Dunkin' Donuts in East Quincy. So we're just going around getting people pumped up, handing out promotional posters. We have fat heads of JBJ and Andrew Benintendi, and we also have some Instagram like models that you can just hold up. So we just want to get the people excited and let everyone know that the Red Sox are coming to town.
Now, did you ever think it would be in the postseason this year?
I absolutely did. I knew it. We're doing so well. How could we not be?
Who's your favorite player?
Andrew Benintendi.
And yourself?
Mookie Betts, AL MVP.
Prediction for the outcome of the postseason?
Ooh, I think that's tough. Let's say the Red Sox go all the way, but I don't really know. Don't hold me to that.
What do you think about the new management team for this season? How's it been going?
I think it's been going great. I mean, this is my first season working for the Sox, and it's just been such a wonderful season to be a part of this organization. They've done so well, and I think the new management has really done a great job.
Sure. What are the fans here in Quincy telling you so far? I know you've got more to go, but so far, what's the reaction?
Oh, just everyone's very excited about it, so they're very willing, and we've given out a lot of posters and taken a lot of pictures, so everyone's very, very pumped up.
After Quincy, where's your next destination?
I'll go into the Dorchester YMCA around like 2 o'clock, so give out some free posters. I don't have any tickets, though, so don't ask me.
All right, well, Red Sox Nation, alive and well here in the city of Presidents. Thanks for stopping by here at QATV. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And any final message for the team or for the fans?
Just go Sox.
Go Sox.
Go Sox. Sox Nation.
That's all for this edition of Quincy in Focus. On our next episode, look forward to highlights of the 86th annual Thanksgiving Day football game between the Quincy Presidents and North Quincy Red Raiders.
We'll also take a look at the kickoff of the Christmas season in Quincy with the annual Quincy Christmas Parade. If you'd like more information about Quincy Access Television or are interested in becoming a member, visit our website at qatv.org or call 617-376-1440. My name is Nick Burrow.
And I'm Dan Mayer, and thanks for watching this edition of Quincy in Focus.
Thank you.